Welcome to the Frame Your Way Photography Podcast. I'm your host, Brooke Jefferson. I'm a wife, mama to two, and full-time photographer and business coach. I created this podcast with the aspiring photographer in mind to bring you inspiring stories, strategies to help you go from zero to multiple figures, and tips and tricks to help you get one step closer to work-life harmony. Are you ready to frame your way to your dream career? Let's dive in. Oh my goodness. This interview you're about to tune into is full of so much gold, so much value. I kind of can't believe that you're getting to listen to it for free. You're about to tune in to an interview with my dear friend, Emily Watkins. And I want to read a little bit about who she is and what she does before you listen to her invaluable information that she is sharing with all of us. Emily Watkins is based in Oklahoma City, Dallas, Fort Worth, and available to travel anywhere your sweet love takes you. Her photography can be described as timeless, joyful, fun, and elegant. With over 175 weddings under her belt, you can rest assured that your once-in-a-lifetime best day ever will be beautifully and thoughtfully documented for you to relive again and again. Photography is one less thing you got to worry about. She's got you. All right, I'm so excited to have you on the show. Emily Watkins, tell us about yourself.
Hey, thanks, Brooke. I'm so excited to be here. So I am a wedding photographer. I'm based out of Oklahoma, and I also serve the Dallas-Fort Worth market. But I primarily just shoot weddings. I started out shooting everything and anything I could get my hands on, but now I'm just primarily shooting weddings, and it's so much fun.
I love that. So tell us a little bit more about how long you've been in your photography business, and has photography always been something you've had an interest in?
Yeah, so I've been interested in photography kind of my whole life. I was definitely that cliche, like the kid. I had grew up with three other siblings, and my parents, we would do different trips and stuff, and I always had the Kodak Easy Share, like popping the little pictures of our family and just capturing our trips. And then that grew throughout high school. We had like art class, and they had DSLRs there that we could use, and so I would, play around with those in class. And my first photography purchase was 85 millimeter lens, Canon 1.8. And I didn't even own a camera body. I just kept on using the schools, but I knew how to get better pictures was the lenses mattered, because they just had a bunch of kit lenses for us to play with. And all my friends were like, wait, how are you getting your pictures to look like that? And I'm like, oh, I don't know. And I just had a lens that was better than everybody else's. And then I was taking my friend's senior pictures. Literally, I just was like, this is super cool. And some of their parents would be like, should we pay, can we pay you? And I'd be like, sure, just take whatever they would want, give me. And I thought that was the best thing ever. I'm like, oh my gosh, I made $50. What is life? And so that was super exciting. And then for graduation, my parents were really sweet, because I wouldn't be able to use this high school's cameras anymore. My parents gave me my first camera. It was a Canon Rebel. I think it was the T3i, but yeah, so I had my Canon Rebel and my 85 millimeter, and I was ready to take on the world. Not really, but that's what it felt like.
I love that. So I tell the story of how when I first got started, you start doing things for free just to test the waters, just to see if you're good enough, I guess. And then when you get that first payment of $50 or even your first $100 session, it feels like, I mean, for me, it was kind of like, this is crazy amazing. And then today, me sitting here saying that, it's just crazy because obviously we're worlds above charging a $50 session. But back in when you're just starting out, I just feel like we all start there. I feel like we're all a $50 photographer at some point. And those photographers that, believe in themselves enough to charge more in the beginning. I mean, props to them, because for me,
Mhm.
it was something that I felt like I didn't like to ask for money. I love to be paid. I just didn't like to ask for money.
Yeah.
Something that I've kind of had to, like evolve in. And I also
Mhm.
started with the Canon Rebel. I don't remember exactly what
Yeah,
it was.
girl.
And what's funny is I also didn't own my first camera that I started taking client photos. I actually borrowed my mother-in-law's, who was just my boyfriend's mom at the time. And thank
Aw.
God she trusted me, because it's just crazy kind of, what's
Yeah.
evolved since then. Yeah, so I think
Yes.
that's so cool. So because I know you went to college, so tell me about what's the relation to your college journey and your photography journey, or how did that happen?
Yeah, no, it was huge. So, in high school, I was just shooting whatever, and seniors, because I was just the stage of life I was in, and then, kind of building up my portrait work. And I encourage this to people who are getting like interested in wanting to get into weddings, because they ask like, how do you get your first wedding? Like chicken for the egg kind of situation. And so, um, I was just working on my portrait work and didn't necessarily, my goal at the time wasn't weddings, but I fully believe that because my portrait work was strong, when I had a friend who knew me who was like, "Hey, we're getting married. You take good pictures. You can do this, right?" Like I was able to just be able to make that transition because I had the portrait work. And so I would encourage people out there trying to get their first wedding, just keep shooting portraits and making sure like people realize you can use your, know how to use your camera, and make that correlation somewhat easily. There's also a lot more other tips, but that's just like a small little way that I think I got my first wedding. And, kind of having a friend that trusted me and saw that potential in me, and she, and I was just kind of crazy and was like, yeah, sure, I guess I could do that. Let's try it out. I don't know. So, luckily I brought with me a second shooter who was way more experienced than I was, so I didn't do it alone. Definitely don't shoot your first wedding all by yourself if you have no idea what you're doing. So yeah,
These tips?
but I guess to yeah, right, yeah, great
Yes.
life tips. And kind of to answer that question, so that was December of 2013. That was my first wedding, and I was a sophomore in college. And so for then the next 3 years through college, I just started side hustling it. Um, you know, each wedding led to more weddings. Just kind of people saw that I could do that, and I was, I is unique because I was in college. I didn't have to feel the financial pressures. So I am thankful for that. Like I had time to build it a little bit slower than some people, because I had 3 years left of college that I was side hustling, and building. Like it was a slow progression. I think I shot, 2014, I shot 5 weddings. The next year I shot 10 weddings. The next, so it kind of was slow, and steady. And so, um, but yeah, once I still through that time didn't really dream that this could be a career. I was just like, wow, this is super fun to do on the side. I was studying business in college, and I was really passionate about that too. So I really just was kind of, I didn't realize know what God had in store, but if I could see myself now, I wouldn't have believed you. That's for sure.
I think so many of us say that. And I mean, I would have to guess that your business classes have helped you on the back end of your photography business in some, way. Do you see a
Oh
correlation
yeah.
in that at all?
Yeah, I think it was really fun, because I could kind of like learn in business class things, and I could take little nuggets and just start like applying that to my photography business. So it made me pay attention in class a little bit closer, because I was like, oh, I could go home and implement. Because most of my other friends, like, they're having to try to learn this to use down the road. Obviously, a lot, I mean, they were general business classes, so none of them were like in the creative realm, but my brain has always just kind of been a business minded. I'm kind of just been a hustler at heart. Like I was definitely that child with the lemonade stands, and getting the whole neighborhood together and just doing things like, having my friends help me in these projects or endeavors, or making bracelets and selling them, or t-shirts. And I mean, I also didn't mention this, but I had a small Etsy shop that I sold custom like Converse and Vans. I drew on them in my dorm room, and I would sell those. And I started that business in high school through college, and that actually helped bankroll my photography gear. And so I've just been kind of a little, business girl, entrepreneur since I was, a kid. But so my parents weren't too surprised that I was wanting to do something a little out of the box, but I've always just kind of been the weird child, so that's who I am.
So did you go from graduating college and continuing your photography business, or did you ever step into the corporate world at all?
No, I never stepped into the corporate world. I did do, I had a few internships with like some marketing companies, and some different businesses in marketing realms, but I quickly was like, I don't think I'm fit for a desk job. And so I never actually, I did those during college. And so I got to the summer before my senior year, and I was like, you know what? Like, I was telling my husband, because we got married right before our senior year. So we got married super young. And another reason why I'm passionate about weddings, because we love marriage. And, but anyways, I was like, babe, like, I remember telling him, like, I think I'm gonna do this photography thing. Like, I think I'm gonna go for it. And luckily, because I was able to slowly build, I mean, I had probably 20 weddings on the calendar for the next year. So I felt like I did have some numbers. So it wasn't a total like complete leap into the darkness of, oh, we don't have clients, but we'll figure it out. Like, luckily there was some direction there to be able to make that leap. But yeah, I transitioned straight when I graduated. I just went full time into photography.
So how would you describe your transition from side hustle to, okay, now this is my thing? Like, were there any changes that you had to make? Did you go about it differently once you figured out this is going to be my full-time career?
Yeah, I think you just have to start being a lot more intentional, because yes, gigs will slowly come randomly or like by the luck of the draw. But I think more times than not, if you're trying to actually fill your calendar and treat it like a business and treat it like, okay, this is my livelihood, then unfortunately it's not as glamorous sometimes. And I am all for booking a client that makes you excited, but I also understand that sometimes you just got to book something. Like, and so there might be times where you have to set your pride aside and just take the gig because you got to make rent. And I think that's important. And I don't think a lot of people, because that's not the glamorous side of it, right? Like, obviously
Yeah.
I'm all for like waiting out for that client that makes your heart pound and like that reminds you why you do what you do. But I think the truth of being full time is, maybe not every client is that way. But I'm sorry, is this supposed to all be about you? I don't know. I think I get kind of, I try to approach my business out of a heart of service and trying to just be like, whoever God puts across my path, I'm going to try to just love their socks off. And yeah, maybe we don't connect in a soul sister way, but that doesn't mean this bride is not worthy of, her story being preserved in a beautiful way, an intentional way. And so I just try to, do it like that. But I think with, there's a whole lot of strategies like implementing you can do. You can focus on Instagram and be a lot more intentional with Instagram, trying to actually get gigs, or you can be, you can sign up for the Knot or a different kind of advertising firm. I mean, I think just being, like I said, more intentionally seeking out clients and not just being like, okay, it's gonna happen, and just sitting by your computer just waiting for it to happen, because sometimes it doesn't happen, and then that's really hard. And again, you have to set your pride aside, because sometimes it's not good enough to be like, I have good enough work, they should just come to me, like. So because the truth is there's a lot of people with a lot of really great work. And so I feel like this day and age, not you have to do better than just having great work.
One thing about you from the outside looking in, I've watched you for years at this point, is you have what I call the best friend factor. So it seems to me, it seems to me
I
from the
love that.
it seems to me from the outside looking in that when I am watching your journey on Instagram or your Instagram stories and you're giving us the behind the scenes look into your weddings, you aren't just a photographer. You are always smiling, laughing,
Mhm.
having fun. You are serving your brides. You talk about being that, additional bridesmaid that gets to hang out with the wedding party the whole
Mhm.
day. And I see that. And I'm telling you, I think other people see that too. And I think that factor alone is, yeah, you have amazing work, but on top of that, people can relate to you. They're realizing that
Mhm.
they're going to walk away with a new friend and someone that cares about them and someone that's there to serve them and 100% offer a good time, like dancing at the reception.
Yeah.
We've seen many of those on, and that's
Yeah.
huge. And I think everybody has to have some sort of factor on them. Maybe it's not the best friend factor, but you've got to have
Mhm.
something that sets you apart other than your work. So I love, love, love that you gave that tip. And how do you feel about being described as the best friend factor?
I love that, Brooke. That makes me smile.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I do think, I mean, that is spot on, and I'm glad it is obvious because I do try to market myself in that way. Um, but I don't want to like discourage other people who are like, well, crap, I can't be the best friend factor. So is that it for me? Like, I think, so I've been really nerding out in the Enneagram here lately. And my type is type 7, and so some of those qualities are just freaking god get like that's just what is my like my go-to. And so I think really looking in yourself and finding your strengths and then helping that be part of what sets your brand apart, because it would be stupid for if that's not your strong suit to try to be like, that'd be exhausting to try to be somebody else. And I know that's so like cliche of the like, be yourself, everyone else is taken, blah, blah, blah. But like, there's so much truth into that. And I think, just really leaning into your God given abilities and who you are, because you're going to attract your own people who, I might be a little much for some people, and that I might honestly shoot me in the foot sometimes. Like there might be some guys that are like, she cray. We don't need her, she cray. And so that's fine. But I think when you put yourself out there, by on Instagram or whatever, like making your brand more personal, like a personal brand, then like you were saying, people can connect with that, and that doesn't, in whatever way they can connect with that. And I think the best thing you can do is just being true to your own self will make will give you the best success in that, and then make you the happiest, because you will have more often than not those brides that do make your heart pound and do make you love your job. And so I think that's really important. But no, I love that way you said the best friend fact. That's what I need to put on my page, man. Just like coin it like that. I've never heard it said
May,
like that, but I like it a
yeah,
lot.
maybe you should, because not only with your brides and your clients are you the best friend factor, but I kind of want to talk about how you're that way towards other photographers. And to me, personally, you
Hmm.
don't, you're not a person who has your guard up and you don't let anyone come in. You are probably one of the most serving photographers I know. And one of the ways that you do that is you put on
Hmm.
a photography workshop every year. And I want you to kind of tell us about that, because I know it's still new.
Hmm.
You're still in, what are we on, year 2 or 3? Is this three? Is this three, or am I, fill me in?
Yeah, we're coming up on the third one. So I guess like, and I'm thankful that people, like, I want people to perceive me that way. Like I want to be approachable. I think it's like kind of born out of this. where that wasn't always the case for like how I felt people treated me when I was a wee little photographer. I felt like there was sharks in the water and it was very cutthroat and I couldn't talk to anybody, and it was just really lonely, and I just never want to make anybody feel that way. Like I don't, like because it is kind of a lonely trail, and I just always want people to feel like they're seen and they're loved and what they're doing matters. And so I try to be that person that maybe I didn't have. And so I know it's kind of dorky, but that's also why where the summit was born was just, a need for that I saw that like, how cool would it be? So we have like a bunch of awesome Facebook groups, and I love the Facebook groups. I love connecting with people online. Some of my best or fake best friends, I don't know if they're fake, but like they don't even know me in real life. I mean, it's like some of my favorite relationships are online relationships because it's so cool what social media and Facebook does. But what's lacking is just that human interaction of the like, I see you, like I can hug you, I can give you a high five, like there's nothing that can take away that in-person experience. And so I just wanted to create a fun place for us all to meet up and just see each other and see that person that we've been friends with for, who knows how long online. And so, I thought the best way to do it would be doing it in the state that I live in and helping bring us together that way. Um, and so that's really just how the summit was born, because I'd also been to some different meetups where people would put on a meetup, but people wouldn't make time to go to them. So like you'd have a bad showing, like there'd only be like 4 people show up, and it's like, what the heck? But it's because we're all freaking busy. We're all hustling. We're all trying to make this business work, and we all have different stages of life, and it's really hard to like make the time. And so I was like, you know what? I'm going to make this epic gathering where people just can't not show up. Like they got to come here. It's too cool to miss this thing. And so that's kind of where it came from too, is like selfishly, I wanted to see everybody. But I also knew like, you know, because this journey is hard, but I am so passionate that photography, like I down to my bones believe that this job is so important. And what we're doing of preserving people's lives and capturing these moments is so important. Like it is so needed. Like you might take the last picture of that person ever. Life is not promised, and this life is so short. And so, I just always want to try to like spark encouragement in every heart of the discouraged photographer who's feeling burnout, who's feeling like they can't do it, who's feeling like they want to give up. And I just want to like give them a big hug, give them a high five, and be like, gosh dang it, like you're doing a good job, and what you do matters, and we need you, okay? Like we freaking need you. So everyone else needs you. Because like, and I know they feel like, there's all these lies, like you can kind of get down on yourself. Saturated market. There's a million people who are better than me, blah, 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 blah. But it's like, you are uniquely gifted to bring something to this world. And you are the only person who knows the certain people in your life. Like you are placed in that where you are for a reason and for those people. And there's always going to be people who are more comfortable with you than anyone else. And so you're the perfect person to photograph them and bring that out in them. And there's so many people in the world, like there's so much need for photography in any facet. Like, and that's why I love photography. You can do so many different things. Like if I decide weddings I don't want to do anymore, like there's so many other options that I can like pivot and gravitate towards. So but that's kind of, obviously I get very riled up about that subject.
Your summit is powerful and it is amazing. And I was just getting goosebumps thinking back to my experience, because number one, I am usually not the type of person that's going to walk into an event alone, drive 3 hours, get there, put myself out there, but you portrayed the value of that day so well in your marketing. And I think that's one of the reasons that you had so many tickets sell. Not only
Yeah.
that, but the timing of the year when you put this event on, it was December last year. I know we've talked about, keeping it around the winter because for us photographers, that's our downtime or supposed to be. And
Yeah.
it's the perfect time, especially for those of us that do experience that burnout. I think everyone gets there at
Mhm.
some point. It's not that you don't love what you do, it's that you get so caught up in the hard work, in the serving, that you've just got to fill yourself back up. And so being
Yeah.
there at, the summit and being able to hear from other people, watching people who are ahead of us, meeting people who are just getting started, everybody is meeting
Mhm.
each other. And I felt like for the first time ever, we could sit in a room with all of our guards down and just get to know one another and be each other's cheerleaders and supporters. And since I've left, I have
Mhm.
made so many connections that day where we still chat and we still reach out
Aw.
for advice. And that, I mean, the summit was just powerful for me because ever since then
Mhm.
I really was able to step back and see a new perspective and think there really is enough for everybody, more than enough. And there's no
Yeah.
reason to ever feel like we have to compete with each other because there's so many
Mhm.
people on this planet. Like, there's no way,
Yes.
even if everybody decided to become a photographer, it's so cool to see all the different styles, all the different personalities. I think that's a huge thing. And so
Yeah.
you can count on me for attending as long as I am able to your summit because
Yes.
it's just amazing. Like, and I have told so many people about it. I can't even wait to see what this next one's going to look like. Year
Aw.
3 is going to be amazing. I can
Yes.
think. Moving
I'm
forward, do you ever see yourself? You mentioned if you ever wanted to pivot away from weddings, would you? And if
Mhm.
you did, like, what would that look like? Or are you just pretty much sure you'll probably do weddings until you're in a walker?
I know, right? They're gonna have to break my leg. No. Um, Honestly, at this point, I can't see myself not doing weddings. It's weddings have such a special place in my heart, and I'm a really competitive person, so I also love the challenge of, okay, this is only happening one time, and I got to get all these moments. And I love that, like, I can be very like documentary for part of the day and just like watch and got like just really capture people doing their thing. But then I also love that I get to help guide people throughout the day and pose them. And you've got families and little kids, and then you got the bride and groom. And so I really love the variety that weddings bring. I love being able to set up office in different locations, different venues, getting to see different stuff. um and I also just like, family is super important to me, legacy is super important to me, so like capturing the first day of their foundation and like all that that affects, like it just, I'm just really passionate about weddings. So I don't know, it'd be really interesting if I did pivot away from weddings. But I don't, currently, as I'm recording this podcast, I do not have children, and so you know, I don't know what that would change in me. So at this moment, I can tell you I'm doing weddings till the end of time. But you know, babies can change things. So we're not currently trying, but when that day comes, I don't know. That might change some things up. But yeah.
Yeah, I love that. Yeah, babies are for sure eventually they're going to change something. They may not change
Mhm.
you being passionate about weddings. It may just give you all the more reason to continue to watch marriages for the babies. But
Yeah.
I definitely think that you will find new ways to photograph your own child. I know just from the outside
Mhm.
looking in. I know for Jenna Kutcher, same thing. I realize she's not currently, photographing anything else, but I watched that transition in her,
Mhm.
and it's just like a motherly side, honestly, that a lot of people don't know they have, and it does change some things.
Yeah.
But I think I
Mhm.
don't know so much about passion that it'll change your passions, but it will definitely change your schedule and your availability.
Yeah.
Tip for the
Yeah.
future. Yeah.
And I
So,
definitely like I want children, but I have always like loved working and loved business, and so I think it would just look a different way, but I definitely don't know if I would hang it up completely. I have been really motivated. So, a lot of times, business owners, we talk about our why, because your why is what will keep you pushing forward when it gets really hard or when things don't go to plan. Your why is like what can sustain you. And so, building family and building stability and building those things are part of my why, and part of my why when I raise my prices every time, part of my why when I have goals to get to a certain place, because I don't want to be shooting 50 weddings every year for the rest of my life. So, I am trying to build that so that I can give myself more time and can be with my husband more, can go on more personal trips, or maybe be home with a baby or something. And so, that's kind of a huge driver for me of like why I've been trying to rapidly build as much as I can with the time that I have. So,
well, you've done a phenomenal job for sure. I would love if, just off the top of your head, 2 or 3 tips that you would give someone specifically, whether it's wedding photography or just photography in general. What tips would you have for those maybe in their first year of photography about anything, just off the top of your head?
okay, so like tips, I think, a lot of people say this, but you can't be shooting enough. So like you need to be shooting a lot. And that might even mean just like shooting, your dog or your boyfriend or your husband or your baby or whatever you have in front of you. Because I touched on this in the beginning of the podcast, but if you can get your portrait work solid, it gives people a lot more confidence if they're seeing, associating you with photography. They don't have to know you're not getting paid for some of that stuff, or they don't have to know where these are coming from. But if they see you continually posting solid work, just in general, even if that's freaking good pictures of your dog, I don't care. But solid work is going to start to lead to paying work. And then, talking now, segueing into money and payment, like, don't be afraid to charge money. I think too many people maybe get scared with money, and they make money an awkward conversation. And so, um, I definitely think if it's gonna, I think you should also realize, like, okay, why do I feel awkward about charging money? And so if you're feeling really insecure, I would challenge you to look inside yourself and see, like, why am I feeling insecure about charging this? And what can I do to help myself not feel so insecure about this? Am I feeling insecure because I don't have enough portrait work under my belt? Well, then, like, we can fix that. Go take more portraits. Keep getting better. Or if it's something deeper, I just think um, you have to start charging. Like, you need to sustain, so your time is valuable. um Even if that's, you still got to pay yourself. Try to even like calculate it for minimum wage or whatever, like start somewhere. And then it'll get easier and easier. Another tip with payment is like nip that thing in the butt immediately. Like when someone inquires with you, be like, thank you for asking, this is how much it is. Like, just you be the one to initiate money. I think people get big, and same for me when I first start out, when you don't talk about it, and then it gets really awkward, and then you show up to the shoot, and like if you let it even get that far where you show up to the shoot and they don't know how much they're paying you, then that's not really cool to like slap a payment on them that they're not really comfortable with, because they were assuming it was free because you didn't say anything. So I feel like you got to put on your big girl panties, and you got to tell the people, your pricing up front, and then let them decide if that is cool with them. Okay, great. Then you don't have to, you're stressed, and now you're going to the shoot. If that wasn't okay with them, there'll be another person that you can shoot that it was okay with. But I think too many times people get trapped in this like awkward not telling them what it costs, and then you feel really weird. And even, especially sometimes that can happen, like even with friends like that you've known for a long time, and they ask to do a shoot with you and they have no idea what you're charging now, or like have no idea what photography costs. and you can feel maybe in your head that pressure of like, oh, I have to cut them a deal or I have to do something. But no matter what, I think you need to have the money conversation first and foremost. And even if it helps you to be like, hey, we're great friends, but we got to talk about money, and just like open it up and just call it out and say, I know this is awkward, but we got to talk about this. Like, do what you need to do on that. But those are some tips. I have a ton of tips. If if you want more tips, I mean, keep listening to Brooke's podcast. I'm sure you'll get a bunch more nuggets that way. And I'm always an open book, but I know we have a limited time here. I could talk forever on tips. So
no, I love it. But yeah, so for more tips, how can we follow you, connect with you? Give us some of your places we can find you online.
yeah, so I do have like a Facebook group that I will go live in sometimes and post in. So that group is Emily Watkins Business Photography Life. And then I also will go live sometimes on Instagram. My personal Instagram account is Emily Nicole Watkins, and my business Instagram is emilynicolephoto.co. So that's where I'm at, man. Come hang out.
Yes, this was so much fun. I'm so glad that you agreed to come on, and this is gold. I cannot wait to publish this. It's going to be awesome.
Oh, well, I'm so honored that you had me out, Brooke, and I'm super excited for you and all that you're doing. And I'm just excited to keep cheering you on in this endeavor. And I'm so proud of you, and you're kicking butt. And I'm excited to see what the future holds.
Ah, you're so sweet. Thank you so much.